The UFC has held a monopoly on MMA for a very long time now, and with fight organizations like Bellator being bought out by the PFL and even the PFL themselves not doing too well, along with the countless other amounts of MMA promotions that have failed over the years. Since purchasing the Pride Fighting Championship back in 2007, the UFC has just been completely ahead of the game with very little to no competition. But there is a new competitor that has been making waves on social media, and that is the Global Fight League, or also known as the GFL. They've signed a lot of top prospects, some pretty notable names, and some former UFC champions. So of course this has created a lot of buzz in the combat sports world, even with them introducing a draft. Let's look at the actual interesting stuff. Let's get into these teams and look at what fighters are ending up on which team. So the first team we got here is the New York team, but the names that jump out to me on this New York roster are Alexei Oleinik. To be honest, I didn't even know he was out of the UFC. Alan Belcher, I'm pretty sure he went out of his way to do the BKFC stuff for a little while. We got OSP, Devin Clark, Chris Weidman, Phil Hawes. I'm so sorry to say this, but the middleweights are the kings of the glass jaws. We got Dylan Dennis in there with a Gracie. Kevin Lee is back in the mix. Jimmy Rivera, haven't heard that name in a while either. I'm pretty sure he went and had a little extent in the BKFC as well, and Holly Holm. Let's see the next team, Sao Paulo. Fabricio Verdum immediately off jump. That's a pretty big name fighter. Mauricio Shogun Hua. Wow, Shogun. I don't know about that one. Douglas Lima, that's pretty solid. Alex Oliveira, that's pretty solid. Patricky Pitbull, that's decent. Julio Arce, former UFC fighter. Henan Barao, man, wow, haven't seen that name in a very, very long time. Former UFC champion, and at one point was considered the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. We got Rafael Assunção. The last time I remember even seeing him was when he got obliterated by Cody Garbrandt. I'm not too familiar with the women on this, so let's move on to the next one. Team Miami, Junior Dos Santos, Robles de Spain. After a couple quick knockouts in karate combat, he joins the GFL. Thiago Santos, okay. Yoel Romero, Hector Lombard, some top UFC fighters. Clayson Tebow, I haven't seen that name in a very long time. Hey, Weedy Box man himself, Anthony Pettis. And we got the real hardest hitting 145er in Jeremy Stevens. Marlon Moraes getting back in the mix since his retirement. Eric Shelton, I'm pretty sure I remember him from one of the seasons on The Ultimate Fighter. We got Kat Zingano, Paige Van Zandt. Oh my god, is that Ivan Drago? Who the hell is that? All right, let's not get too carried away. Let's move on to the next one. Team Dubai, Todd Duffy, Omari Akhmedov. He looks very familiar. Luke Rockhold, Derek Brunson, Tyron Woodley. We got Abu Bakar. I didn't even know he wasn't in the UFC anymore, but he's with Team Khabib. Timur Valiev, I remember him from this past season of The Ultimate Fighter. Oh, and I almost forgot Damir Ismagulov. I remember him as well in the UFC. All right, let's move on to the next. Team London, Tanner Bozer, definitely recognize him from the UFC. Alexander Gustafsson, Alir Latifi, Gegard Mousasi. Let's see, Danny Roberts, also former UFC fighter. Benson Henderson, former UFC champion. Mike Grundy, I recognize him from the UFC as well. And don't think I didn't recognize freaking Mariusz or whatever the hell his name is over there, looking like fucking Thor. And last but not least, Team Los Angeles. I see they signed Andre Arlovsky, Frank Mir, man, oh my god. Rashad Evans, oh my god. I never thought I'd see these guys fight ever again. Da Woon Jung, also a name I recognize. Uriah Hall, Chad Mendes, Tyler Diamond. I'd recognize that name too. I don't remember where I recognize his name from. Sage Northcutt, Tony Ferguson, my god, please, let's get Tony Ferguson a win. Please, MMA gods. They also got Uriah Faber. I'm not sure how long it's been since he last fought. Ray Borg, Aspen Ladd, Cynthia Calvillo, which I didn't even know she was out of the UFC roster. Ilima Leigh McFarlane. I also recognize her. I'm pretty sure she's the Hawaii girl that fought in Bellator. We got Jessica Penne, former UFC fighter, and Corey McKenna, also a name that I recognize. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm pretty interested. I understand a lot of people out there are calling this the UFC Retirement League, and they might be right about that, but let's be real, the GFL's gotta start somewhere, and putting some big names, although a lot of these guys are retired, they are some really big names, and there's still some very notable fighters that'll definitely bring a fan base to want to watch. And say what you want, because they brung in a lot of former UFC fighters, way more than the PFL ever did, way more than Bellator ever did, way more than any of these other MMA organizations did. Yeah, some of these guys I think should probably stay retired. However, I think the matchup should be very interesting. And of course, I want to know, who are you guys most excited to see? Who do you think is going to win it all and become the first GFL champion? I know who I'm rooting for, but for now, I'll just keep it to myself. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, I thank you all so much for the support, and I'll catch you in the next video.